Okay. 5:11. Call this meeting to order at 5:11. Do we have any modifications or additions?
Staff has none.
Okay.
Chair, I do have some. I'd like to pull letters C, D, and E off the consent agenda, please, for further discussion.
Okay. And then how do you make the list of
Just a quick point of clarification. Do you want to put B on there? Because that's the findings for C. Like first, you got the resolution adopting the findings to allow the contract to be.
I assumed it would be just what, okay, yes, I'd also be.
okay.
That way, if C doesn't pass, B.
That's
will.
what I was supposed to.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everybody who signed up for public comment. I'm gonna just ask that it's 5 minutes per person. We usually don't have any sort of dialogue, just we hear your comment. Discuss later. So thank you for being here. Gretchen Goss does not want to talk. No words.
No work.
So I'm going to invite Locke Litwer to speak.
You want me to stand in front?
Oh,
Or should you come up to
yes, please.
Okay, great. Podium.
Please go to or the lectern.
That's called.
The lectern.
Well, good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Locke Litwer, live at 2204 Sherman Avenue over here in Hood River. I appreciate your having me here today. I was here to talk about the proposal for parking over on the Anchor Way lot, the new lot that you guys have paved and striped and everything. Let me just walk through. Like I said, I am a Hood River resident, business owner of 3 businesses here in Hood River County. As you probably are aware, one of those businesses is the Latewell Hotel. The hotel was a historic restoration originally built in 1904 that we completed late last year. It has 69 rooms, averaging about 65% occupancy. We think we'll be open a few months, so we don't really know yet, but that's our goal. We have a spa, 4 food and beverage outlets, and a great view of all of your land over here. Parking. As you are all aware, we have no parking at the Lightwell Hotel because the building takes up the whole lot. We didn't build it that way. That's what came on, fell in on. As a requirement for redeveloping and restoring that property, the city required us to meet new parking standards because they deemed it a new use, even though it had been a hotel. They said the abandonment made a new use. That forced us legally then to either acquire new parking offsite, which is impossible, or pay an in-lieu fee, which we did. The in-lieu fee, out of being very healthy 6 figures, we did not ask for a diminishment. None was offered of that. Paid it, it's fine, no problem. So we have no legal obligation to provide parking beyond that under the law. There was a parking pass program the city ran that predated us. I think it was about 10 years old. It was recommended to us by the city. We didn't make any money off of that, but what it did was it allowed our guests to basically prepay for parking by the day, so long as they did not park on Oak Street. That was the whole purpose of the program, to keep the parking on Oak Street open so they could have higher turnover there in exchange for convenience to people who are visiting. In response, we had about 20% of our guests use that program, more or less, and we made no money off of it. That was a pass through to the city. The pass was bright pink, very visible, and a group of folks downtown who own businesses felt like that was a really clear indication of why parking is scarce in downtown Hood River. You know, I'm not here to discuss the veracity of that observation, but that was a concern that they had. They brought that to the city, and in response, the city decided to effectively do away with the program as it exists. They moved some of it to the lot across from Full Sail, the Columbia lot, but it's very limited, very different, and we've had very little interest from guests in using that. Since then, we've had really no effect. We were offering that to guests, they're not using it. We've had really no complaints from guests about the parking situation. Most of our guests come from metro areas. They're used to walking 2 blocks, 3 blocks, whatever it is. It's fine, right? However, we've received a lot of feedback from city council members, staff over there, fellow business owners downtown asking, hey, would you please consider an off-street solution, right? Would you please consider self-park or a valet program, something to get more cars off the road so that people who want to come shop can come shop, right? Now, our guests spend on average, according to Visit Oregon, about $80, $90 a day in retail. They do shop, but that's neither here nor there. So we're willing to do that. It's complex and it has costs associated with it. And once again, we do not anticipate making money off this. To the best of my knowledge, there's never been a valet program in Hood River. We don't know what uptake will be, but we're willing to undertake that, right? However, we don't have off-street parking to do that in, you know? So, you know, I suggested, I said, hey, you guys have this lot, you know, you have the data, I don't, but anecdotally, the lot over there, okay, I'll get as much as I can in here. You know, I've literally never seen more than 1 car in it, you know, but like I said, I'm sure you guys have data. I said, you know what, let's do a trial. Let's try and get through this busy season, couple-month contract. We will make sure you get some revenue. You know, we will have a place to put cars. It feels like a win-win to me. But, you know, we're doing this to be a good neighbor. It's not a business proposition for us. I think it might help the downtown businesses be successful. We can only do it if the cost is reasonable. You know, I've seen the staff report. I understand the imperative to make money, especially for the port right now with the situation that you guys are facing. Get it, right? We're also a business, you know, and we just can't shoulder on this kind of goodwill program a tremendous amount of additional costs. So ask you to please bear that in mind. I'm happy to talk with you about what reasonable looks like in our view, so that we don't lose money, because we're not going to do it if we lose money. That's what I'm here for. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. And seeing nothing, I'll go Andrew that way.
Thank you.
I'll do a little clock here, just
Okay. All right. Thank you.
okay.
Louis Moeller.
I'm sorry, I should have wrote down. Nobody knows me by that name here in Hood River. My name's Lucky Mahler,
Oh,
and my mother was the first female president of the Chicago port in 1999.
oh, cool.
So she'd be very happy about it. She was very happy. About a month ago, she passed away at 105. But she did a lot of things visually for that side of the port, helped develop what we call the interface with the people and the river versus the businesses. So I come today with an interesting 3 ideas, all of which are paid. I like that, right? We have an ever increasing sandbar that's changed how boats access this marina, completely don't access the other marina. We have a waterfront that's no beach. Well, the beach over here needs to be deep treed or whatever. We can sell enough of we can get a permit to mine the sand, sell it, and we can take half of it and reposition it all the way down the frontage way. And we can end up with a sandy beach the entire way to access for sailors, you know, that and people to swim. The other thing that needs to be thought about is, you know, the terminology of bridge to nowhere. We remember that in Alaska. We just did that in the Columbia River Gorge. We built 66 miles of bike trail. And it's not connected to Hood River. There's 1.3 miles yet to be built from where the underpass goes there before you get to Mitchell Point up to the Indian Meredith Motels, what that we call it. Anyway, here's the problem. When they spend the $66 million that they have budgeted, 66 or more, where's it going to go? Do we want the bikes downtown? Do we have room? We don't have parking for them. We don't have room for bikes. So one of the thought process is get you can go straight on what's it called? What's the name of the road that goes in front of the West Cliff? Yeah, West Cliff turns and goes under. Well, we could go left and we can go over and we can build a floating bridge to the hook. We can build a semi-arch bridge to the hook. Now we're a little bit more money. Floating bridges, we can do that. We can build a real short one and take it in by the sanitary sewer. And we then bring the bikes down to the port where there's more room for them and they can stop and rest, interface with the businesses down there. The other thing that happens by repositioning the sand is we access the other marina. And we're short of marina here. We don't have places to have live on marina. We don't have places to have more story, people who want to have a boat or whatever it is for marina. We don't have room for a business to be operating within the port. So the idea is three things. We reposition the sand to get a sandy beach. We make money selling the sand because we got our permit to do it, to pay for moving the sand that pays for putting a floating bridge for the bike trail, not into town, but here to the port. Because the beauty of bringing it to the port is where's the next connection? It's the bridge over and up and gets to the rest of the thing. So it interfaces the entire bike experience for people. And I've seen numbers. He's probably got more numbers on the bike things, but the bike weekend in the summer is 600 people a day. That's down there. They're not going to come here. Well, they can't get here. So one of the things is both the city and the port need to put their heads together and plan, how are we going to take advantage of the bridge to nowhere, the bike path? Do you guys know it has to be 12 feet wide? It has to be 12 feet wide. It has to hold trucks. It can't just be a bike path. So it's a real big thing. So that's the thing. Move the sand, have a sandy beach, get a floating bridge, and access the other marina to make more money. And theoretically, you're not going to have to ask anybody for money because you're going to get the permit from the state to mine the sand and sell the sand. Will pay for everything.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you. It looks like the next person who would wish to speak is Ann Frodel.
Ann Frodel from the river. I have a deep history with the waterfront. In fact, I worked with Nancy Moeller on the first path that originally came around this building and all the way through the waterfront. And also a lot of experience with the waterfront park. I just, I think you're going to review a little bit your proposal tonight by Claudia. And I just want to encourage you to keep as much public access, public space, recreation space, just opportunities for our community to interface with the waterfront as possible. I know you have lots of great ideas and she's going to flow for you. So I just want you to keep that in your mind. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here and giving up your lovely sunny evening. Before I make a couple-minute presentation, I wanted to know if Amanda, does the commission have copies of the proposal, or should I spell it out?
Nope, go ahead and spell it out.
So, parking seems to be the big problem in town. Some 30 years ago, I purchased the Union Building from the Port of Hood River. And I think I've been working on it ever since. For those of you who don't know, it's a very long building west of 2nd Street Bridge and all the way to 7th Street, almost abutting your Big 7 building. I'm proposing a development west of my development currently, filling in what the port deconstructed some 30 years ago, and we call it the Pavilion, that big concrete structure. And It's very lovely industrial art, but I'm hoping to reconstruct it and actually make use of about 12,000 square feet of space. In order for me to do that, I need to provide some parking. It turns out that the Big Seven has quite a bit of space to the east, quite a bit of open land. My proposal in a nutshell is to purchase outright some 30 by 80 feet of that to put parking on the upper portion. And failing outright purchase, I would be willing to provide for the port at my cost, some parking down below. And that parking down below, in a nutshell, is probably about 18 to 20 parking spaces. I would do that with my crew, as I said, at my cost. But that, of course, invites the port to be interested in selling or parting with any land whatsoever. That would help the city's mandate of creating some off-street parking. I would gladly do that. And I think a lot of the answers in town are pocket parking areas, not large parking structures. But that's my take on it. People don't like to walk more than a block or two. That would make it easier for some of your tenants in the Big Seven. And I applaud you for what you're doing there and the art spaces. And it would help my tenants have off-street parking. I hope that when you get the proposal, you'll consider it. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Jamie Mack.
Hi, and I'm Jamie Mack and the founder of the sailing program 21 years ago. Just wanted to say I was excited to see the proposals for the marina that they did. That concept 3 included some consideration for the recreation that's going out in the marina, and I feel like the port is helping to look after some of the needs of the public, and I hope that it's something that can be discussed more and seems like a good plan. But again, thank you guys for helping to steer some of that development towards the public. Good, thanks.
Dan, I'm sorry,
It's Jimmy Jack. It's a tough one. That's okay. I'm Dan Kubicek. I'm with Ambrose Property Group, a developer, and I wanted to come to discuss with you guys today about the property, the port's property over on Neal Creek Mill Road. What I wanted to do here tonight is to request that the port hold a special meeting to approve and discuss the third extension of PSA to allow a little bit more time to coordinate approvals for the scheduled development on this project. As some may know, the current PSA expires on 7/20, so July 20th. And the next board meeting is on, wouldn't you know, July 21st. So obviously there's a conflict there with the timing between the two. As everybody's well aware, there was an application filed through Hood River for an industrial land use permit for a 48,000 square foot warehouse facility. This is where bulk shipments will come in via truck, basically get sorted internally in this facility, and then get delivered via van to the local community. I should just note that this site obviously has got some good components from it, from design. Stormwater has already been taken a look at, positive recommendation from staff. We're also planning for EV capacities for 100% of the vans to be used out there. So a lot of benefits with this facility. The proposed building obviously fits in with the general uses with the surrounding neighbors. The site was formerly a mill site, and the one thing that we should keep in mind is, this was part of the mill bill, and obviously the mill bill took these sites that were former mill sites and allowed for them to be redeveloped for industrial uses. So we feel that we are meeting the intent of that bill. And we also feel like we're complying with all the local design codes. There has been some, obviously, some community pushback on the project, which we have heard and we received, and we understand their concerns. However, we don't think that this should dissuade, certain businesses with, we'll call it name brands, from developing in Hood River. So that's kind of where we stand on the project as of now. So in closing, I would like to just say that, we're going to continue to be supportive of the port, for signing the original PSA for the redevelopment of this ground. And again, just requesting that the board hold a special meeting sometime between now and July 20th to extend PSA on this project. That's it. Thank you guys for your time.
Dan? One last, Easton Craft.
Yes. Hi. I guess I'm the nameless company you were talking about. So my name is Easton Craft. I'm with Amazon. I want to come out and just introduce myself. I think Dan covered off pretty much all of the kind of technical components, but I just want to kind of reiterate Amazon's commitment to the region, to the community, and to be a good partner. We are very excited about bringing this facility to the community. It is a tremendous benefit for our customers and folks beyond that. It's important to invest in our teammates at our facilities. So we hire at very competitive wages, well above minimum wage for even tier 1 starting employees. Many folks, it's their first job out of high school or wherever. So we're very excited to do that. They also receive benefits and from healthcare, 401k on day 1 of their employment. Along with the direct employees that we'll be hiring at this facility, we also support additional jobs in the communities, and I have a number of facts that back this up based on historic evidence of our facilities opening. But that's everything from contractors, maintenance operations, retail, other local service sectors, and then just overall investment in the community with our employee base either being from here and being able to invest larger amounts of money in the community. Beyond that, we also think that Hood River residents are going to notice a big difference just in terms of their delivery. So we generally put Amazon facilities, places where we have customers, and there are quite a lot of customers in this area. And so being able to put a facility here reduces the carbon footprint for transportation. Many of the vehicles, the delivery vehicles we'll be using will be EVs. So we'll be sort of zero carbon footprint on a lot of those delivery vehicles. And we're committed to that here, but also in Oregon more broadly. We also, I think what's important is that we want to be good neighbors in the community. And this is the part I wanted to reiterate. So things from sponsorships to donations to nonprofits, partnerships with the local schools, shelters, and volunteer efforts by our employees, reiterate our commitment to being good neighbors in the community and being a part of the growth and the benefit of the community as we move forward. So, as I said, we're excited about being part of the community, and we're very thankful that we get to partner with Port on this project as we move forward. Thank you.
That's it for public comment. So we're going to move on to public hearing regarding special procurement exemption. Now open the public hearing regarding the special procurement exemption for aviation management services. Is there anyone who wishes to provide comment? I will now close the public hearing.
You,
Is that for us to say?
I don't know if the board can take the hearing. Do you have a thought on that? Or? Yeah, I think Commissioner Thomas was wondering if she could speak during the hearing. Is that?
That would happen sort of during the deliberation.
Great. Sorry. Okay. I'm gonna close the public hearing at 5:36. Move on to consent agenda. minus B, C, D, and E. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Good. Minus items B, C, D, and E.
Got it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Aye. Discuss. These, B and C.
Well, I know, I think the last meeting, Commissioner Beaker just kept going. Typically, we would go down, add those to action items for later on in the agenda.
So informational report.
Yes. And right demo that I want to talk about. I didn't really have too much to add to the financial report itself because everything is, there's not much change from month to month and we don't have anything unusual happening. And so I did a little extra analysis this month only because this was our last opportunity to do a budget adjustment if one had been needed before the end of June. Budget is one area that we can't fix retroactively, so I need to be pretty confident that we're going to get through the fiscal year without any need to change it, and I am confident that we will get through the fiscal year without any changes. Capital outlay continues. We have a lot of projects going and a lot of projects that have been completed. So I've started including this capital outlay list that has, for example, the parking lots that are completed, but then it has several items that are not completed. We had some money set aside for that second purchase over on Wasco Court, which may or may not occur this fiscal year. And if it doesn't occur this fiscal year and we choose to move forward, then I'll be back with a budget adjustment next fiscal year. Also, the waterfront development, the roundabout, as we generally call the project, is also ongoing. We'll probably be talking about what we ultimately want to do with the Marina Basin properties over here, the East and West Marina. And so a lot going on with capital outlay. But the main thing I actually wanted to talk about is not necessarily happy news, but I did want to talk about the traffic on the bridge because it's down significantly. And I just looked at the first 15 days of this month and it's still continuing to be down. I think that the price of gas is really impacting us. And it seems to be impacting just traffic in general. So no big surprise there. And we will continue to monitor it. But I just wanted to at least give you the heads up that this is occurring, that we're definitely seeing a downturn in traffic on the bridge. So it started in April with about 1.8% downturn. May really, I believe it was 7.7% that it was down in May. And it's down a similar number, a similar percentage for the first 15 days of June. So definitely seeing an impact of high gas prices.
You don't think it's any like software issue on our side?
No, it does appear to be actually occurring. So it's not software.
Hopefully with gas prices changing.
And it'll be interesting to see, in the past, what I've observed when prices have gone up, especially when they go up dramatically like they did in this case, is that there's an initial shock and then it seems to stabilize and people kind of get used to it. So this is corresponding with they're working on the traffic and revenue study for the new bridge. And so of course they're using the existing bridge as the example. So CDM Smith is looking into this as well to see what kind of long-term impact they think it's going to have. But the really big question is, will the prices stay high? Will they stabilize? Will they come back down? We don't know the answer to that.
And what's the good news?
The good news is we're within budget. We don't have any budget adjustments.
Yes, thank you. Can you remind us about the debt services note number 3?
Yeah, so we only have one. Port's in really good shape right now compared to most governments, and that we really don't have much debt. So the only outstanding debt at the moment was issued in 2013 to do some improvements over on the dock in the marina. And it's a low interest. I can't tell you off the top of my head what the interest rate is. It's like 3%, roughly a 3% interest loan. And that's all that's left. It'll be paid off in a couple of years. So we're really getting close to the end on that.
And then note number 6, same page number 93, transfers budgeted to help fund the foundation's plan for launching the license plate program. Can you remind us of?
So there was discussion, and one of the things that happens with the budget is that we were preparing the budget a year ago, that we're now, actually you were adopting it a year ago with the one that we're now living under. And so things change as we move forward. And so the license plate program was an idea to raise money to help fund waterfront projects. And it's kind of on the back burner at this moment. They're not pursuing it actively. It's kind of a foundation project at this point, and it's not being pursued actively.
Okay, so that $71,000, that's why there's 0% because we haven't moved forward.
Right.
Is that
Right.
plan to be extended and then by June 30th?
No, it will not be. And it's actually been rebudgeted for next year so that money will be available if that project gets moved up in priority.
And then I really appreciate the Marina Basin commercial redevelopment new tracking. I think that's great. So we can kind of follow that outlay and see those numbers on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be charged to either of the buildings because it's obviously not the buildings. So I set that up separately.
And then last question, sorry guys. Page number 99. This is a payment received from the Bridge Authority for Administrative Services. Can you remind everybody who is billing for the administrative non-departmental services for the Bridge Authority?
It's mostly me, because I provide the finance director services to the Bridge Authority. My assistant Yana does most of their accounts payable, so she's probably the second most charged person. Kevin charges some time to it as their interim executive director. Patty has in the past. I'm not sure if there's much now because they're doing their own minutes and things like that. But whenever we provide services, we track our time and then bill. And we're billing our actual. So we bill for salaries and benefits. We don't bill a fully loaded rate or anything like that. It's just for our salaries and benefits that we bill for.
Why don't we bill a fully reloaded rate?
It was just at the time that the agreement was entered into, we were wanting to provide help to the Bridge Authority to keep this project moving forward. We recognize it's in the port's best interest to get this project done. So that was the intent at the time the agreement was entered into.
I've got one question on 93. If we look at expenses, the internal services, we go all the way over to the end, year to date, 2,537,000. That number. And then we look over at revenue for administration at 2,580,000. Which does match the administration fund information on page 99. But I guess why is there the discrepancy between the year-to-date expenses on page 93 of that $2,537,000 and the roughly $40,000 difference between the operating revenue for the administration?
It's a reconciliation. So I true up the reconciliation on a quarterly basis. So in March, it was pretty close to equal.
Yeah.
But now in April, I was using just basically the budgeted numbers because it's a bit of work to go through and do the reconciliation. So that's why I only do it quarterly. And so it gets off a little bit in the other months, and then it gets trued back up on the quarterly basis.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, I could have asked that
Anything
at
else,
the time. Till later. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, I think we can move on. Heather Berkowitz program.
Looks like we're slightly out of order with the page numbers in your packet and the topic on the agenda.
Oh, yep. What page number?
No, you're not going anywhere, Amanda.
Oh, great.
121.
That's good, exciting. All right, so for the April meeting,
Commissioner Beaker, you specifically asked staff for more information on a reoccurring port project that occurs below the deck of our bridge. And so I somewhat inherited this bridge around December of last year, and I've become quite fond of her. And so, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. And I've spent a lot of time making sure this bridge is upkept very well. And through this very fun process, we began calling her Bridget to give her more of a persona and just appreciate the fact of what she does for the community while we patiently wait for the replacement we are also equally excited for. So we introduced her tonight in 2026 with a name in importance of what she does for both Oregon, Washington, and connected communities. So here she is. May 4th of 2026, we began bridge deck welding with Bulldog Welding. They were great to work with. They have worked and welded on our bridge for quite some time. It's my first time, Melissa's first time getting to work with them directly. And they were, you know, Jason was great. He walked the bridge with Megan and I in particular before the project began, just to show us what they were looking for, what they were welding, kind of gave us the big scope for the first time. We were really appreciative of that information, of that knowledge. So we want to make sure to thank Bulldog Welding for like the partnership, the hard work. It was some really hot days on the bridge 2 weeks in a row. You know, the safety, the communication was really there for me, for Megan, for our team, for our facilities team. It's just making sure the community knows how important that partnership is to this project is extremely important to us. Bridge deck welding started May 4th through the 8th, Monday through Friday, and continued from May 11th through the 15th. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes to get people up on that deck. Our facilities crew was on their feet for 8 hours a day, switching between signage and walking to make sure our welders were protected via cones, while also just managing, keeping traffic going slow. We had warning signs, reader boards were put up with ample opportunities for people to see before the project began. And we did our best to rotate flaggers every 2 hours to make sure people are not fatigued or too hot. We had proper lead support for the flaggers and that people were switching out appropriately. Part of bridge deck welding was the enforcement of good behavior on the bridge. As you can see, not everyone participated correctly. We had a lot of speeding, which is extremely dangerous on a bridge always, but especially narrow bridges like ours. Bulldog Welding had a welder's shield get hit. One of the trucks got dinged because people were not paying attention. You know, we want to add that the port can and will and has fined people for not being safe on the bridge. So we just want to reiterate that these are people out there holding flags with families and pets and things to go back to. and we understand it's hot and it's inconvenient, but it's super important to follow the rules, not turning around on the bridge in particular, but not getting out of your vehicle, staying in the vehicle, being patient with us. I also handed out candy to make people feel better at one point. Safety was at the forefront of bridge deck welding always, but for me, very, very important that everybody I took on that bridge got off that bridge safely. We started our day with meetings to reiterate our traffic plan and our safety plan. We had proper layers of communication to know that if there was an issue with the flagging point, directors knew at the office. It was a very thought out, coordinated plan to get this started and finished. So, you know, this wasn't something that was just thought up on a whim. It was very thought out and intentional. We had, everybody had radios. There were some people with 2 radios to be able to hear everything at all times. It was a very important task to make sure that we as a port knew everything that was going on at all times for both our facilities crew, our welders, and just our staff that accompanied the facilities crew on the bridge almost daily. So, Commissioner Baker, one of the things that you asked was more detail on what kind of welding that was being accomplished. In the past, the port has utilized a type of weld called a spot weld. It's a very quick weld that sits on top of our grates that does the job. It's meant to hold the deck together, right? It's very simple and quick. This year, we did a lot more exploring as to different types of welds, what their purpose was. And one of the things we learned from Cascade Locks and Parker over there was that we should explore something called a spider weld, which essentially takes longer, but distributes the weight in certain areas so the weld holds longer. So throughout the north or the south approach heading north, we used a combination of spider welds in areas where the crack was bigger than just what a spot weld would be able to hold for a short amount of time. So we didn't do spider welds through the whole decking. That's a lot of weight and a lot of metal, but more often than not, depending on the size of the crack, the spider weld was utilized in order to distribute weight across the grate to better hold a year from now. So a year from now, we will go back, we will look at these spider welds and determine how well they held compared to some of the areas that just had spot welds.
Are you saying spider welds were just used northbound?
So we'll get to that point. So one of the unique things that the spider weld creates is it takes longer than a spot weld. So we were able to weld from the south approach up to the lift span on the south side, and then the same for the southbound lane heading north, or the southbound lane heading south on the southbound side of the lift span. So we'll get to why we didn't go past the lift span in just a second. So part of the welding is that for the first time, we're able to track where the welds are and at what position the welds were done. So for all that want to know, there are 604 grates on this bridge across both lanes. So 604 going south, 604 going north. So each grate is split in sections with the middle line splitting them from each other. So most grates are 10 sections by 14 sections, differentiating where you're at necessarily on each approach.
But the northbound, the lane coming from Oregon going to Washington is numbered odd numbers. The lane coming from Washington to Oregon is now numbered even numbers. So we're able to, in real time, see which guardrails are being damaged and track which welds are happening on each grade through this numbered system. In addition to that, each grade is split up alphabetically and numerically, so we can pinpoint the exact weld that was done, the year it was done, go back a year later and see how the specific weld is being held based on the type of weld that was decided to be done. So what this does is a year from now, when we go back out, we can visually see which ones had spider welds, which ones had spot welds, if the spider welds held, which we believe they will, and which ones the spot weld were done, and if it held, and where they held and where they did not hold. The other half of this project and why we didn't weld on the north side of the lift span is what we're calling a whiteout project. So during the bridge closures that occurred the 28th and 29th of May for training for lifting, Bridget, staff, myself, Melissa, and my facilities crew spent the evening on the bridge marking all the visible fractures only on the north side of the span. We marked them, photographed them using the numbered system that's now in place. So that a year from now, we can track how many welds existed on May 31st of 2026, or how many cracks existed on May 31st, 2026, versus how many more were added a year from now. So this will tell us how much pressure each grate is getting, which grates are getting more cracks than the others, and if the fractures we're seeing now continue to get worse or stay the same. So a year from now, we will have a lot more data for each side of the bridge, as opposed to just where we're welding. So what we got before, some of the welding were the type of cracks we're seeing. And so obviously the one to the left is a little bit more, larger than what I'll call the hairline fracture on the right. The degree of the fracture is how the welders determined which weld to use. These are just two of the types of fractures we saw. Some of these fractures occur in the splits. Some of them occur dead center or across the other way. And it's really important to note that these fractures are designed to happen to protect the bridge. It's what we're calling, Bridges bubble wrap, is Megan came up with. It's designed to take the stress off the structure itself. So these grates are doing their job, but repairing the grates so they continue to do their job is super important as well. So you see lots of things in this photo, right? More importantly, you see the number on the guardrail. That's telling us exactly which guardrail had the cracks as of this night. In a year from now, we'll be able to tell if 15 more were added, or if these 3 just stayed and if they got worse. So staff overnight went grate by grate by grate on the north span, all together using lighting and photographs and the numbering system to begin this process. we will continue to take advantage of night closures and day closures to continue this project and date it appropriately as we approach the Washington side. I think we got through approximately 100 grades, 100 numbered sections from the lift span, and the one night we were able to utilize while it was closed. So with the deck welding project, we have lots of feedback from the public. People are stuck in traffic. The candy helped only so much. You know, one important thing that like a lot of people don't get to see is the complications that happen in real time while we have staff up there. We have 4 stalled vehicles on the bridge in the middle of deck welding, and 3 of those happened in the same day. Cars just couldn't continue on. Some of those staff was able to help get off the bridge. One Guzman towing had to come help her off the bridge. It's really important to know that like staff tries their hardest to utilize time well spent while this bridge is being impacted. We had guardrails that were replaced that were damaged by a car during deck welding. We got that done during deck welding, so we didn't have to impact the community more. So it's really important to know that obviously your perspective from your car stuck in traffic is a very small perspective on a mile-long bridge. And a lot got done. That being said, there were a lot of problems while we were doing it. Staff was the one, facilities crew, my lead crew coordinated tow trucks and emergency repairs while traffic zooming by. It was a very big effort to get this all done. So obviously the welds took place on the southbound lane and the northbound lane with numbered totals counted for the first time. It's really important to say that, these are just the first time we've had the opportunity to count. The people that came before me were doing the same thing, but without the ability to showcase it to you. John Mann did this, Ryan Clapbridge did this. They did a very good job. They set the bar very high for us to come in and do this and document it. So making sure that we compliment them, that this worked well this time because there was somebody to follow last time. This is just the first presentation on it. So southbound lane, obviously 1,216 welds in 2 weeks is a lot of welds, especially with some of those welds being spider welds. Bulldog welding is very efficient, with the northbound lane having 1,377 welds. That's a lot of work and heat and process and fixing. It worked really well. We're really thankful so much got done. We were also able, obviously, to number the bridge for the first time for lots of purposes. This is going to help us make sure that we can track each time a guardrail is replaced because we know what number is being replaced. Emergency situation, the debris on the bridge, working with Hood River County Sheriff to say, hopefully identify numbers so our staff can find the impact quicker and more efficiently and impact the community less. And on top of this, ODOT was able to perform their top deck inspection as part of the biannual deck inspection overnight. They came out, did it overnight, so there would be no direct impact to constituents more than there needed to be during our biannual inspection that makes sure Bridget is in as best shape as she can be. We did, of course, get a lot of feedback and phone calls of people that either did not like the candy or had other things to tell us. Some of those were that we can do better with signage. We intend in the future to use pilot cars to help with speed and safety. We will set the speed pace for folks so it's easier. We will, and we did try this time to work very closely with Washington Department of Transportation to help the light issues on each side of the bridge. We're going to try even harder next year to try to coordinate those intersections in particular with either our flaggers or different flagging companies to help kind of keep traffic flowing as smoothly as possible on and off the bridge outside of kind of our domain of Bridget. And then one of the things that keeps getting told is we should be doing this at night. We hear people say that, and we are actively looking into what would this look like to do it overnight, as opposed to having to do the rolling closures and impacting traffic, in the middle of the day. So we want people to know we hear them, we're listening, we're doing all sorts of research in the next year, working with community partners, Bulldog Welding, to see what they would need, or other welding companies to make that happen if we can. And then, of course, our crew, these are the guys getting yelled at, holding stop signs. We gave them candy too. But they really were the ones that were the face of this project. They were out there every day, 8 hours a day, stopping traffic, starting traffic, protecting our welders, protecting each other. And they're super important to this process. So with that, I will let you ask questions.
Did you come up with that numbering and?
No, Patty actually came up with, we had a really great mastermind session where it was Debbie, myself, Patty, Kevin, we listened to tour. It went from everything from like crime scene numbers to temporary numbers to, it really evolved into a whole thought process to do what you asked of us. So we took it very seriously. The sticky numbers made the most sense. The closest second was like spray painting Bridget and what we think she would look wonderful in different colors. We decided against that. So the numbers are staying. We'll replace them if we need to one by one, kind of wear and tear occurs, or guardrails get replaced, but it was mostly Patty. Yeah.
Teamwork.
Yep.
Good job.
Yeah.
Very thorough.
Two things.
Sure.
One, outstanding, to everyone at the port that helped make this happen. For people that don't understand why it might be important to track all this kind of stuff, it helps us directly to maintain commerce across our bridge. So obviously there's just keeping it operational, but also this informs decisions about potential load limits and things. And if we can do a good maintenance job and really optimize that and also be tracking and understanding, then we can potentially continue as much, commercial traffic across the bridge, which is really important to a lot of local businesses. So fantastic, outstanding work. I'm thrilled that we're doing it.
But we did it. Yeah.
Yes. My question is, do we know when ODOT is going to give us the results of their biennial inspection?
So it's important to note that the biennial inspection is not complete. The undercarriage of it is set tentatively to take place for 2 weeks in July. We expect minimal, if any, impacts to traffic during that process. We make no promises. But that was the goal of having the deck done. My guess is once it's all complete, we will get all results together,
Okay.
not in pieces.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right.
Great job.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Bridget.
What was that? Thank you, Bridget.
Yes, thank you, Bridget.
Megan, a bunch of stuff for us.
So I'll start with the request for developer interest. So the topic that's in front of you today is more of a continuation of process for the request for development interest, and less so about the content of the proposal. So at your last meeting in May, there was a decision made by the commission to identify an interview committee. And my understanding is that was Commissioner Shepherd and Commissioner Chapman. And the purpose of this conversation is kind of an extension of that, with the entire commission. Would the commission like to pursue further conversation
relative to the single submittal request for developer interest, or take a different direction. I'll kind of, I know I've said this before, but the request for developer interest for Marina East and West, it was exploratory, non-binding, and so there's a variety of directions that the commission has the ability to take. On one end of the spectrum, you could decide to end the process at this point, no further conversation. The other end of the process spectrum, you could say we want to have, further conversations with the developer and learn more. And somewhere in the middle, you could also, define if there's a specific pathway with, further requests for qualifications or request for proposals. So the question in front of you today, in light of one submittal coming forward through this request for developer interest process, really is seeking commission direction on how you would like to proceed in the process, recognizing that if you choose to proceed in the process through an interview, that would be the point for the discussion kind of on the merits and the content of the proposal itself. So with that, I will pause and see if you have questions or comments.
So one just quick question, we still have had no other proposals submitted, correct?
We have not had other proposals submitted. The proposal closure date was April 23rd. And so there hasn't really been an opportunity for others to submit outside of the current process.
I guess my concern is that we're putting the cart before the horse, because we might have a different discussion when you have a bridge in, rather than we don't have a bridge in right now. And so what's it actually going to be like? What's it actually feel like? And how you can project and potentially hypothesize. But I just think sometimes in my experience last year, we have had a lot of discussion about the end product, but the process to get there maybe is a little bit more muddled. So my concern is that we're just moving a little bit too quickly, given that the current bridge is still here and the future bridge is very ethereal. I mean, I wish it wasn't so ethereal, but that's we need funding to move forward. So it just feels like we're talking about the marina. Who's going to want to, it's a little hard to see. So that's sort of my concerns and comments.
So Commissioner Thomas, your concern, just to clarify, do you feel that once we receive some guidance on the new bridge, that would be a more appropriate point to really dive into this? Or what's the trigger, I guess?
Well, given that we are asking for quite a bit of federal funding, and without that federal funding, the construction cannot occur.
Mm-hmm.
If the construction does not occur, I think we as a community are going to be looking at a very different situation. And so we might want to talk about, what the marina looks like at that point, because it might not be, you may have a bridge, you may not, maybe open, you may not. So my concern is we're setting this developer up sort of for failure, because according to the capital project, it's already cost us about $5,500. Not a lot of money when you're doing an RFDI, right? It's not a lot of money. But if you're going into now negotiations and talks, and there's fees along with that, discussions that occur, because you have staff time and paper and research and all the things. If everything goes great, you may have a bridge being constructed at the same time as whatever they're going to construct there. But if things go bad and we don't have a bridge construction, you're sort of setting up this developer to have this space with a new bridge, but yet you may not be able to produce on the current guardrails that are projected this time, which means that it might need to look different, because you might not have as many people coming to the river if we don't have a bridge, hypothetically, obviously. So those are my concerns.
You all on the real estate committee, you guys actually, you had some kind of a meeting? No?
We have to have direction before
Waiting for
we're
your-
able.
So do you feel that there could be, because I mean, what if it's like a no cost type more further exploratory discussion or very low cost. Do you feel that that would be beneficial? Do you feel that there's something that you could get out of further discussions at this point beyond what we have that would be helpful in setting up things for the future, or what are your thoughts?
I think having the discussion would be very helpful. If there is a concern, we're not building something there, we're discussing leasing this land. If a developer has a concern as it relates to the bridge or a potential new bridge or a current bridge, I'm sure they will express that. We're leasing land, so if a developer wants, we put out a request for proposals. Would you like to have 4 of them? Sure, we got 1. I think we still owe, if we had 4 of them, we would be talking to 4 people. I think we owe the 1 a discussion. Or else, why would anybody want to propose something to us in the future? If we have them go through that exercise and then we just say, we changed them, we could have brought this up before. I think we owe them a discussion just like we would anybody. And if there's a concern on the developer's part, they'll bring it up.
I would like to continue communications and discussions. I like that the developer isn't rigid and definitely wants to work with us to see what's best for the community. I'd like to keep moving forward with discussions.
I would say that the developer is open to having the conversation. Just because of I think that the 3 examples were just that, examples of things that could be considered. I agree, that's not the discussion that we would have. The discussion is, do we think that this would be a viable partnership at some point? And I think that that's going to be a valid conversation for whoever is going to be looking at this land. I have a little bit of a different thing of yes, I wholeheartedly would love. I love the free bridge, but I love the federalization and keeping the tolls down as low as possible. There are other avenues that we could explore that could solve for getting a bridge, that are not on the table at this point, but I don't think that we should stall on this long process on a lot of what ifs. And I agree that we put out the request. And if there was 4 people, we would definitely be talking to 4.
So how about like for a next step to have our internal real estate committee meet with the developer and talk it out a bit more? I mean, I don't know, maybe we're not at the point of authorizing staff to start doing stuff, and that's where we start incurring costs, right? So yeah, I think that would be good. I think that if we have those kinds of discussions, and it gives lots of time for the public to contact the port and weigh in, like, hey, we think this, or these are things that are important to us, and then we can maybe collaboratively. I don't know. We did a tour of the port of Camas Washougal and looked at the big development they did there. And the developer there actually took the initiative to have like some public open houses and things like that. So I feel like the discussion that our internal real estate committee might have with the developer could maybe touch on some of those issues of how to. I mean, the port does have, sort of a bad reputation from a few events in the distant past about things that were done or tried to be done without very much public input. And I think this is a great opportunity to demonstrate that we're open to getting that public input and have it. This also, I feel like it allows it to be a little longer, a little more transparent process. So I guess I'm in favor of you guys continuing and starting to have those discussions. Sounds good.
I think there'll be a lot of time on any project. So I just want everyone to have their questions answered, but if there are any questions, concerns you'd like us to address initially, could you please email them to us?
That's great, because I wanna think about it.
Yeah.
Do some
And we will,
research on it.
obviously, set this up in the future.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
To be clear, if there was still 4 applicants, I would still say we're putting the current.
Right.
Okay, just, it's not because it was just 1 or 5 or 10, but as a consultant who's had to do interviews before, we're asking them to do a lot of work to put something together because they don't know the questions we're gonna ask. And I just think on the other side of it, if we don't have all our ducks in a row and understand fully what the impact is gonna be, maybe, so that's just fine.
Yeah, I like Tor's idea of, at this point, very tentative conversation.
Yeah.
No staff, you
Yeah.
know, you don't need to make it very intensive.
Okay.
We can engage
Maybe
some
give a-
interest.
Maybe give a report at the
That would be a lot.
next.
We just put you in charge of them, and you can set a date and then let everybody know well ahead of time.
Can I just get voluntold for that?
It'd be great.
One thing I would like to do, because I do know that this is going to be a long public process, which I'm encouraging. Because I do feel that in the past, I think the problem with a lot of government agencies and the reputation is they come up with the idea and then they start the public process. And this way, I'd like to kind of do it in a backwards motion of, we just are having the minimal conversation and let's start the public process. I'm curious if we could have our tech people set up a dedicated email address, so it's not inundating any particular staff person, but it is regularly checked and it is organized, so if it's something having to do with, you know, the marina as it pertains to the ask, if they have questions.
Sure.
Maybe those could go there.
Absolutely.
Um,
Have a project email address.
yeah, project email address, thank you. For the public.
Okay, well, I'm hearing pretty much a full consensus, maybe a consensus minus a half. But, okay, yeah. So, just half enthusiasm for moving forward, but if I could say for the record that there's consensus to move forward, that'd be
Boy.
It's okay that there's not consensus.
That is.
Yeah, we're not, that's
I-
a good board.
good. Okay, well, let's we'll support the 2 of you as you reach out and whatever we can do to help support you.
I'll get that set up. I'll even.
Thank you.
Okay, so we found a way parking lot.
All right, so this is me again. So at the last meeting, there was a conversation, you know, around potential leasing opportunities for spaces at the Anchorway lot. I want to acknowledge that there was also a conversation around local program as well. We're kind of bifurcated. We're distinguishing those 2 pieces, but I didn't want you to think that they were being lost in this. So this conversation is around the paid leasing space program in Anchorway. And in your packet, you'll see that we did an evaluation of our overall utilization for the waterfront parking based on the paid parking lots that we had in 2025 relative to the revenue that was generated during the peak period. So we did an analysis from June to September to see, you know, how many spots did we have available for paid parking? About 580. And then what was our revenue during that time, which came out to about 252,000. So based on that analysis, we looked then at what if all of those spaces were, you know, paid for, you know, every possible day, what would that maximum revenue be? And it was just over $1 million. And so in this very high level analysis, came to the conclusion that we're seeing about an effective occupancy rate of about 25% kind of across our paid waterfront parking lots. And this is, again, just a reminder to help us identify for Anchorway, which is the new lot just off of 2nd, kind of the southernmost portion of the waterfront, where we have 59 spaces. And this analysis was done looking at the daily maximum rate, which is $15
And paid parking right now is from 8 AM to 6 PM. And we currently don't allow overnight parking. So those are kind of the considerations as we were looking at benchmarks. So as we were looking at an opportunity for leasing spaces in Anchor Way, wanted to acknowledge that, you know, we are at about a 25% occupancy rate. The leased spaces would have an added benefit of overnight parking that's currently not allowed today. So we're looking at a range, you know, per spot equivalent to about $117 to $183 per month per space. This analysis and that recommendation is based on looking towards an annual lease of those spaces as well. And so you'll see in the staff memo a recommendation about the midpoint there to start the commission conversation at considering $150 per month per space, thinking of that price again in the context of an annual lease for that. So there's some additional data in your packet that I'm happy to dive into if you would like, but I will pause to see if there's any questions.
I have one question on this. I know that it's not, we would need to change it to allow for overnight parking. Who would be responsible for the enforcement of who's parking there? Like if the hotel does not have, or whoever's leasing the spaces does not have a person there and someone else chooses to park there, how is that? Who's in charge of policing?
So our enforcement right now is again from 8 AM to 6 PM. And then we do have kind of limited overnight patrol. And so I think in the context of enforcing the overnight, that would need to be a conversation, negotiation with the leasee on how that would be handled.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are we hiring for that role right now?
We do have a position open for an overnight port monitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since our ordinance currently doesn't allow overnight parking, would we incur any liability if there was any kind of vandalism or theft, personal property? If we changed the ordinance to allow it, and we just weren't able to police it.
I don't know that the liability necessarily changes like from the daytime context if there was theft. You know, we allow it today. I don't know if the ordinance was updated to allow for overnight parking, if that liability changes or not.
And how does that handle our enforceability of, is it a full ordinance that would encompass the whole port? Or is it for these 50 spots specifically allowed for overnight? How do we police everyone now?
Yeah,
Overnight.
I think that's where a tailored approach to what would be allowed for overnight parking would be more appropriate, in my opinion.
Okay.
Versus a blanket allowance of overnight parking in every space.
Okay.
Is your 25% number port wide or was that Anchor Way specific?
It was port wide. Yeah.
I look at that law every day. I've never seen 25%.
Yeah.
For now.
For now.
With
We're not at peak season, but
we're not at peak season, and this is gonna be the second, well, this will be the first full summer with that parking available.
Yeah.
I just know, as people discover the lots, they tend to fill up.
Yeah.
After a couple of years.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree that it's the least utilized parking currently.
Yeah. You know, and I will acknowledge as well, you know, from public comment that we heard, you know, some of the desires for the use are for a couple months instead of a year. And so from a staff level, I think there would be a level of comfortability of thinking through, you know, is there a different rate even than what's recommended here that would be appropriate for a very shorter period of time to kind of test it versus the rate that's being set for intended to be annual. So I just want to put that on the table for the commission's consideration as well.
So I was just curious, I just ran some numbers. We don't really know what that parking lot's gonna do.
Right.
There's 59 spots And the request is to basically lease 20, correct?
Approximately.
So if you're just looking at, I mean, we're trying to do a few things, trying to provide parking for people coming to the waterfront. But we're also trying to make money as much as we can off the parking so that we can upkeep the waterfront and do all sorts of other good stuff. If 39 of those spots were full every day, just exactly, and that was the public demand, it didn't go into the 20, it was just 39 spots every day. And you lease those 20 spots for example, a little less, for $100 a month, that would be $2,000 a month. You would need to have enough demand on the lot to fill it full 6 days from the public to pay the equivalent revenue that you would get from a lease of those 20 spots at $100 a month. So you need 6 days of an absolutely full lot. And I guess, you know, moving into this first summer, we really don't know. And I guess after looking through all the issues, I would be happy for us to try a short-term trial at something even less than the rates that you've specified here.
Sure.
To see,
Yeah.
you know, what if we watch it and, you know, the 39 spots that are available to the public all summer long, about half of them fill every day.
Sure.
Then having a lease deal for the 20 spots was a net benefit to the port. And by the port, I mean the public, because we turn around and use that money for all sorts of other things like keeping the bathrooms clean, et cetera, and so forth. So I guess I'm in favor of you guys trying to work something out that makes sense. And I actually kind of like the idea that it's more short-term as opposed to annual, because that gives us, it doesn't commit us
Yeah.
for such a long period.
As an added benefit, I heard a comment from Mr. Littler said, guests don't mind walking a couple of blocks.
Yeah.
To get to a hotel. Sometimes I don't like walking 2 blocks to get my coffee in the morning because hotels have filled up the streets with cars. And so maybe there's that, maybe it's a win-win. Maybe it can be a win-win. We can help alleviate some of the parking strain and make a few.
So yeah, I'd like to try something, and then we can, you know, this winter see, well, how did that go?
Yeah. Well, and their guests might have a different use pattern in the winter.
Right.
And they might have a different demand, because 2 blocks right now is shareable.
Sure. Right.
Good point.
So just hearing what you're talking about, do you want to delegate the final dollar amount to staff so that, because July 1, I believe, was the anticipated start?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And then I'm also okay with their recommendation on the term of this test program. We want to just do the summer, whatever. Let you guys figure out what's gonna work best for everyone.
Great.
Right.
I'm almost wondering if we could get that in a motion.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that.
Motion to allow staff to.
Do you have a motion on your docket?
Yes.
I can do it. I will motion to approve staff for final negotiations for the lease rate for parking spaces on the Anchor Way lot.
Second.
That's sufficient.
Discussion.
Are we putting a cap on how many can be leased, or are we just allowing staff to decide? Because I would like a cap.
Yeah, I think it was 20.
I'm just making sure we,
Yeah.
does that need to be in the motion?
Just amend the motion to include the 20.
Up to 20?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
When do you get to talk about food parking?
Well, let's see.
Oh,
We can talk about during the ED report.
We have it. Do you want to?
Sure.
Just making sure
Yeah, yeah.
you said it's Tuesday. That is my email for you now.
Okay, ED report. So a lot has, it's been a busy month. So there are several things that did not make it into the report. So I'm just going to zip through those. Thank you to Commissioner Shepherd, Commissioner Beaker for attending open house for the strategic business plan. That was we had 40 people in attendance at that. Really good discussion and comments. Since then, we've received, well, actually the next day, the public survey went out. And so that's now live and will be until July 19th, I think. So we've already received about 65 survey responses. So let's try to get 1,000 plus. So let's drive that. There's a copy of the QR code in the packet. And with that, you can actually take the video or take the survey. As part of the strategic business plan, Points Consulting has two videos, social media videos to help promote the business plan and the report. And so I'm thinking I'd like to get two commissioners that could promote the strategic business plan and the public's interface with the business plan. And either that could be on the waterfront kayaking or up in a plane or, you know, really whatever would be kind of.
We had a pilot.
Yeah, right. I just kind of pulled that out of there, but it could be anything. But if there's a couple of commissioners, I think the videographer was going to be here like July 21st and 22nd. I think it would be really a good idea to have the members of the board just kind of talking, maybe while they're paddling with the videographer about the business plan. Anybody can.
That's the end of swims. I already asked.
It could be the way we're
I think all the commissioners should.
I think Speedos.
Jeez.
Can't paddleboard. I've had too many back surgeries. So.
Right, is it have to be in person, can be virtual?
You know, I think the idea was to try to do it in person.
Do it.
We will figure out how to support to make something beautiful.
Okay, I'll reach out and I'll see if I can't get a couple of volunteers. That's great. Thank you for that. And then, yes, I do want to draw your attention to page 140 of the TV report. And let's see, that is about near the end. It's actually the last full paragraph is the local parking considerations. It made a paragraph or two, so staff is looking for some guidance about how to kind of how the commission thinks that we might want to consider local and how do we define that. So
I have an idea.
sure.
Anyone with a breeze bypass. And yes, you can get a breeze bypass from Seattle, but if you're gonna go through that much turmoil to get potentially some free parking, good golly, good for you. I think that's the easy thing. It's in your window, it's clear, you got a breeze bypass, you're a local, you should be able to park and anchor a lot for free. And that was one of my comments for these activities, like written for it in different places. I think it's easy, it's something very known to the port, people know they got breeze by. That's just an idea, Fairy.
Any other thoughts or concepts?
So is the idea that anyone with a breeze by pass park free
Yes,
as long as they want,
during the day, no overnight parking.
right?
In the Anchorway lot.
You
only.
just-
But not in those 20 spots that we're listing out. So there needs to be a pass that would be, you know, at least person, they'd have to get a pass to be clear, but I think that would be.
So the one thing, I'm gonna be the devil, I like free parking, big fan. You're there with your kids, you're expecting free parking, you go in that lot, there's no free parking.
I should have gone up earlier.
But that's not the call that the port's gonna get. The port's gonna get the call, where's my free parking?
Well, you can't get parks without parking. Or can't, sorry, I'm just starting, I can't with all this night. You can't get parked without parks.
Yeah.
So we do have to pay for parking, I get it, but those 39.
I'm just, you know,
Spots.
that is something I can anticipate if it's a very limited amount of spots, are we gonna create a logistical nightmare for staff to manage disappointment?
You can give, I would say give staff them, you can give my cell phone number, and I will tell them, other two people, you want to be parking, you gotta get there early.
I'm gonna say, when the parking lot's full, I'm parking next door.
There you go. There you go.
Actually have that same policy now.
Yeah.
Paid for.
This is, yeah, these are all true. I just,
Currently, the street parking is free, is it not?
no, just on second.
Megan, she just did some studies on that. Where is the free parking?
So there's free parking at the Spit. So that's just on the, you know, the
Much.
there's I can tell you at the Spit there are 32 spaces.
Okay.
Then we have parking available at the marina. So there's the marina parking. near
Okay, that's
the
cool.
station.
Let's just talk about.
Mind showing us? Yeah, I can show you. Daryl, will you help me?
Daryl's got it.
Daryl's got it.
So let's go.
This is all free here.
Uh-huh.
This is all free.
Yep.
All the way out here.
Yeah,
This is where we're talking about at the Spit.
that's free.
Yep.
This is free right here.
Yep.
Then.
So that's the one that Daryl just pointed to. So everything that Daryl just pointed to in the marina and the Spit is port owned. And then there's city free parking.
Okay.
That's
On
free.
And then isn't the street there?
This.
That's straight
Yeah,
down.
it's second.
is free, and then
That's free.
this from there to there is free,
And
and
eight.
now here is free.
The one other thing that I was gonna comment on the Anchorway spaces, which is nice, is we look out over the Laura Jensen lawn every day. And that thing is a logistical nightmare. And I could see people buying the Laura Jensen pass or, you know, unloading their gear and dropping a car off at the Anchorway knowing that it's free. And so they don't have to double pay for, you know what I'm saying? Like if they're parking a rig or something, they wanna unload everything right at the water and then take their
So
car.
I'll be.
If they got a breeze by, I said.
That's what I'm saying, is if it's, that is a nice thing to think
To be
about.
very clear, like right now, like. I'm not in favor of making Anchorway free, given all the free street parking, there is a substantial number of spots.
It
that
is
are
full
free.
in the summer though, all the
I
time.
know it fills up. I think, I feel like this is not, if we were to make a decision like this, it's not something we would just make right now,
No.
sort of capriciously. And the reason is that if that causes some kind of problem, it's not something we can take back.
I disagree because
Okay,
there's still signs that say park, this, you have to pay to park, correct? Correct. And only people who would, not everybody who has a breeze by and or was a local and or got the word out that if you have a breeze by, you park for free. Those people only park for free.
But
If you
that's
got
an
to be-
equitable issue. Because if we're not
I-
making
that's
sure
the
that everyone knows that this is available and someone didn't know and said, well, I didn't know, how come you got to know about this? I'm just thinking of all of the things that could be problematic in this, and I agree with Tor that this is a much longer discussion of something that we might need to
All I'm saying is you could say, we're now paying, now you have to pay for park, like, you know, all we have, so if you say, if it doesn't work, we can always change our mind.
How much did the anchor lot cost us to build?
Well, no, it was a 1.2 million for both lots.
It was about 400 for acre.
400.
Yeah, offer up.
How much does leasing 20 spaces get you here?
depends.
At 100,
At 100.
or whatever you just, yeah, for a good round number, so
$2,000.
$2,000 a month, 24 grand a year. And you're payback.
Can I just one thing, and I'm not disagreeing with the whole breeze by thing, but I will say that there is a very large number of people in Hood River that don't have breeze by because they don't drive over the bridge very often. So there is a large number of the port's constituents who do not have breeze by. I'm more than happy to give them a breeze by, so we can always go down that path too. But there's a lot of people that in Hood River that don't have breeze by.
What if it was just like having a breeze by gives you a discounted rate across the bridge?
Mhm.
What if there was something? I don't know how you would make it local, but
Yeah,
something where it's a discounted rate
So
for the parking.
I want to continue to talk about this because I know when we first started charging for parking, I was like, hey, can't we do some kind of deal where locals get it free or something? And I think Daryl pointed out to me, well, that's most of people parking. So how are we gonna make the money that we're using to fund, you know, the waterfront stuff? So
Waterfront, there are lots of visitors.
I know there are lots of visitors, but
So I know like on Maui, now they have, locals, like it'll say, you know, how to pay, but locals get free parking in all these beachside areas. So there is a way to get your permit to park there for free if you go through the process.
yeah, and the reason why could work as that permit. I mean, that totally.
No, I think it'd have to be something that you
It's gotta be
actually,
something different,
you
because there's
apply, you apply for your
there's
local.
people that put them in the Airbnbs at Breeze by that they say transfer this from
Oh,
car
they
to
just
car.
put it, they move it around. Okay.
Yeah,
But okay, but like that, like if somebody's gonna, I mean, I don't know, I just think we're all adults and if you have to pay for parks, I get it. And you have to pay for parks, and this was it's good, but we toll, we tax, and now we're having people pay for parking. So going to where the waterfront is
Well, we don't.
now becomes equity, if you're, the other side of it is now you have to pay to go to use the waterfront. So I'm saying it's an idea to throw out there. You're right, we're not gonna make a decision today,
No.
but the question here was what defines local, I'm throwing it out.
Yeah,
Breeze
yeah,
by.
yeah.
Granted, people in Cascade Blocks, right, also have a breeze by.
There's people in Seattle that have
Well,
Breeze
that's,
Bys.
and I know another commissioner said,
My
why-
brother in Colorado has a Breeze By.
but that, but that's like,
if you have to
Okay.
apply for it, you could still apply for free parking, but you have to prove your residency. Or something, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it would still be free, but it would be something that you apply for.
The hard part of this discussion, which I've been listening to for 10 years, has always been the definition of local.
Yes.
And it's, we've had it a million times. Breeze by is a broad definition, but we can do that. Registration of an automobile in Hood River County is local. Okay, that's much more narrow. I've really never heard a solution to this, and we can decide to go any way we want and talk about this some more. You could also just make certain areas free. We'll just free. No definition of free, just free.
You don't have
No,
to.
no qualification, it's free.
Yeah, but
still
defining,
put the sign up, so the idiots still pay, right, like tourists.
defining local,
Okay. Right, so with the sign up, people will still pay.
I know, and I also to play not devil's advocate, but on the flip side, we're trying to find ways to earn more money since we're losing tolls.
And we don't have taxes, so we aren't, I would say we're not necessarily a taxing authority.
We do get money, we do get money from a very small amount of
we
taxes.
bounce you at $100,000 a year.
3 cents.
That's more than I get personally in tax, so I mean, we are taxing, people are paying taxes.
True. A little bit,
Well, tiny bit.
Yeah. a little bit. Well,
So.
I think
we're at
this is
a-
well, yeah, I mean, we're gonna continue to discuss this and see if we can
Yes.
find some kind of cool solution.
We can keep it, I can keep it in the ED report, just
And one of the impetus for asking a specific question too is as we're, you know, thinking through like how to implement or administer a program, depending on the definition of local, affects the administrative effort and cost associated with that. So just, that was why we wanted to understand kind of the commission's desire for local definition, because that affects then how we're doing an analysis on the back end to figure out what it takes from a staffing standpoint and cost standpoint to administer that type of program.
Yeah, let's get into the weeds another time because I think this, there's a lot of parameters here. We already have a parking pass program, which we could use in some way to make parking for locals that choose to buy a parking pass. I mean, maybe that's the deal, you buy a parking pass, but it's really cheap. I don't know.
To be continued.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
thank you. I have a couple things from the exec director report, I
Yeah,
apologize.
bring it.
I want to just call out a couple things that I noticed. Next meeting, we are discussing, or the mention of the Kyle driving test program is coming in. That is a huge thing that I just like to bring our attention to, because that is going to impact our place potentially. We need to be all be on the same page about that. Question, Kevin, and potentially Jeff, just for you. For the terminal building, how much has been raised so far for the terminal building?
Right now, the only thing aside from local contributions, that being the 500,000 from the sale of the Lower Hamel Mill. Right now, the only thing has been 40,000 from the 30,000 from the Energy Trust. Right now, there hasn't been any other awards. I mean, you can see the notes in the packet from the EDA, correct? And we did get some correspondence from West Cochrane at EDA that everything looks good and it's going to go to the most likely going to go to the next level. But at this point, it's still not a real project.
I also want to point out to the public that we are hiring a night security guard, because I thought that was interesting.
Not a night security guard, because this position does not go through DPSST, and that's the, can't remember what the acronym is, Department of Safety. It's where all the police officers, security all need to get the DPSST certification. And so this position is not a DPSST certified. It's purely a monitor. If they see something, they call the police. But we don't want to get into that level of certification because then our risk goes way up.
So we are hiring for a night security monitor.
A monitor, yes.
A night monitor.
Correct.
No security. Just
No
monitoring.
security. Nope.
Correct.
It's a very
But
important.
it's an interesting job that if somebody wants, it's a good job.
We've got really good candidates. We've received 4 excellent
We should interview them all.
applications. Absolutely. We plan on
probably
it.
will.
Yeah.
When is the DMV relocating?
Say that one more time.
When is DMV relocating?
Our goal is to have them there by December 31st of 2026.
6 months, 6 months from now, approximately.
Correct, we're in design phase, working with some design to fully get in place all their needs for oversized parking at this particular second. So if we work through that piece, that will lead into the CUP process of submitting to be able to place them where we hope they can go.
Okay. Very clear.
It's an ongoing process we're working through.
Okay, and then the federal funding announcements that are anticipated this month, were they confirmed in Washington, or are they based on the grant timelines?
They're based on the grant timelines, but based on our conversation, no one had heard like a different timeline. Great.
Okay, so we're looking for the build grant and the CDS funding.
Yeah, so the build grant is June, and then what we've heard, so our CDS funding went into the subcommittee phase, and it should be late June, early July, to know whether they're moving out of subcommittee into the appropriations bill. And then we're told if it moves into the appropriations bill, that you're 99.9%, going forward. And then the approval of the appropriations bill typically happens in September, but everyone's anticipating January.
And then just one thing I did want to bring up, Pasquale came earlier to talk about the Big 7. So any thoughts, input on studying parking opportunities? I don't know if Amanda might have some thoughts, but.
I'd like to see his presentation, and I like the collaboration and thoughtfulness.
So I think anything's possible. I think the Big 7 presents a lot of opportunities for continued evolution and growth, and Wade knows with tenant benefits, port benefit, expansion of the area will be very interesting to put together.
A very win-win proposal.
If there's not anything else, I do have one last announcement, and this is Daryl Stafford's last meeting with us. And so Daryl came on about the same time I did 8 years ago. And so just wanted to give Daryl a small little thank you for your 8 years. And really, I gotta say just a couple of things about Daryl. There's the East Wing here, and I guess it used to be Gorge Innoventure, which was kind of like a incubator for small business many years ago. But it was also the place where used furniture went to die. And so that was about the time I got hired to work on the bridge replacement project, and I think you started in the main office, but ended up over here. And so there's a different kind of camaraderie in the East Wing, and I think with John Mann and Daryl, a lot of soul searching and a lot of talking went on about the port, but also personal friendships and things. You have just been such an important part of the port, certainly since I've been here, and really appreciate everything you've done. You've been a great sounding board, but you're also a passionate protector of the waterfront and the marina, and you've done everything you can to increase the opportunity for the public to have access to these facilities. And so, thank you.
Works with the port. The best part is for the people. So a quick thank you to the commission for all of your support and trust, and a special thank you to Ben for all of the waterfront being my person. You've been amazing. A special thank you to Kevin and Debbie for your sound leadership, your thoughtfulness, creating a positive working environment, and your professionalism. You guys have been great. I would like to mention that we have so many behind the scenes people that should be acknowledged, because none of us here that you see all the time can do what we do without them. One of the main people, of course, would be Patty, who is the glue. People that aren't here, I would like to acknowledge, would be Yana from our finance department, Marcella, who manages the office. I'd also like to thank Emily and Melissa. They're doing all the nuts and bolts of the job, and they're amazing. They're young, bright, and shining stars. And then most of all, I would like to say I am so grateful for my last bit here at the port for Megan and Amanda. You guys have, the opportunity to work with you has been so inspiring. You guys are smart, motivated, good at what you do, and decent humans. And I feel like I'm leaving it in good hands. So thank you.
Thank you. Got lunch Thursday.
Very miss Daryl.
Oh my gosh.
Really good hands though. And so you're seeing what amazing people we have.
Yeah.
So
Good job training them up.
Yes,
they've
she's
been
done
training
great.
me, honestly.
To have an outgoing person stay for 6 to 9 months
Yeah.
is unheard of.
Yeah.
And so that is another big shout out to Daryl with her willingness to stick around and commit to training our new wave of leaders coming in forward. That was huge. Much
Yeah.
appreciated.
Keep your eyes on those two.
Yeah.
They're still
You adopted the
one-
succession plan.
Yeah.
Actually, the
No,
succession
we did
plan.
not, actually.
Yeah. We still have some business to talk
We
about.
do.
Not allowed to retire, Daryl.
We skip the commissioner committee reports, go to action items.
Yeah, because I don't have any. Do we have any?
Oh, you know, we went to DC, it was good.
I forgot about that little thing.
Some good pictures in there.
I mean, I can just tell you that we met with, with staff and or, you know, like officials for Congresswoman Dexter, Congressman Vance, Senators Wyden and Murphy. We had a really positive experiences with all 4 offices. And I felt like they were very supportive of our projects. And who knows what they'll do, but they all expressed interest in helping us with both the build grant and the EDA grant. So felt like it moved the needle positive. Also built, you know, it helped build Hood River. You know, it helped. Every time you go back there, you're not just advocating for the porter or whatnot. It's institutional investing for this community, basically. So yeah, it was great. It was a very sorry trip. We went in, we did our thing, and we got out. So yeah, it was good.
And you guys got to sit next to Representative Dexter on the flight.
I did sit next to Lexi Dexter. We talked a little bit, and I told her, I said, I know I have you trapped. I'm just gonna mostly let you do your stuff. And I'll just listen to music. I think she appreciated that. So yeah. All right.
Thanks, Tor.
Yes.
Okay, so should we do the public hearing on the budget or go back to?
Let's get the budget out of the way.
I'll now open the public hearing on the approved fiscal year 2026-27 budget. Is there anyone who wishes to provide comment? This is a public hearing. Is there any public comment? Hearing none. I will now close the public hearing at 7:01 and entertain a motion regarding resolution number 2025-26-28 to adopt the fiscal year 2026-27 budget.
I move to approve action as stated.
Second,
Discussion?
I have some. Three things I'd like to ask about. COLA. I would like to point, so I do appreciate that we are acknowledging that it costs more to live. So we have acknowledged. Thank you for that. I really want to point that out. In the budget, there's a 6F research study. What is that?
That was a relic item from about 3 years ago. When HNTB first started out, we were looking at studying the impacts of the bridge on the marina. That did not end up materializing. However, that line item is just around the right amount for the marina study add-on with Points Consulting. So Points Consulting is continuing to develop that scope of work. And so it won't be for 6F, it will be for that marina study. Because you're absolutely correct. There is not a need, there hasn't been any indication from HNTB or the Bridge Authority that there's a need for a study there.
So it's a big span.
Correct.
I should have changed the wording on it.
Yeah.
I knew that you had me leave it in for a reason.
Right.
That was it. Thank you.
And then the other thing is, just a question, because it's the budget that goes through this, but is the removal of the favorite topic. I want to make sure we address it before Daryl left, but is the removal of the boathouses?
It's a contingency.
Yeah.
It's in contingency. So
Yeah.
that's where we're putting it, it's in contingency.
Yes.
So what's the percent? I'm sorry that I was off the top of my head, but what's the percentage of the contingency for the budget?
I don't know that I have the exact percentage. I believe it's about 5%, but it's a dollar amount.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can use, so
Is it over $1 million? What's the?
well, so the way that we budget our ending fund balance, we can actually go back and appropriate that if we need to. So you have 4 million.
4 million?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have $550,000 for contingency, but you actually for the budget as a whole have about 9 million in in ending fund balance that can be appropriated. It just takes an action on behalf of the commission to do that.
Those are all my questions, Sharon.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you. I think that's the easiest budget I've ever had approved or adopted. So thank you.
And for the year. Now on to the consent.
Yeah, that was scary.
All eaten.
It's on the list.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
We have our issue.
Yeah.
so do we have really busy summer? Is there a monthly? Don't we usually skip
August.
August?
There's so much going on.
Historically, yes, we have to know. Yeah. I believe we're moving on to item C. Yeah.
Oh, right, sorry, back to action items.
Yeah. Yes.
The discussion
Yeah.
for B, C, D, and E. How do we want to start with B and C?
Yeah.
I'll go. Yeah. So because, I'm sorry I brought this up. The question I have comes from a small business person who is a federal contractor. And so I noticed that the port emphasized continuity as the reason we want to sole source this contract. Disruption of services reduced, avoiding transition costs, is existing familiarity in grants and relationships and efficiency. That is not, in my opinion, a factual basis to move forward for a sole source for this type of work. I am under the understanding it's MSA for 5 years. It's not exclusive, so we obviously could bring in a new one. I just want to acknowledge that it's only for $250,000. I also want to say publicly that this is a contracting policy discussion. It is nothing to do with the business or services that we're doing. So this is specifically because of the procedure. This has nothing to do with the business that we're discussing for that. So just want to be clear. But I would like staff to point out the factual basis for concluding as to why we have to go on this route. Please.
Well, the findings in the document, those are the findings that were brought forth to defend, and it's not a sole source.
Okay, it's just a direct award.
It's called a special procurement. And so we went through, talked to legal regarding this, and so those findings were acceptable enough in order to make the case for the special procurement for the reasons stated in the staff report. I can certainly go through and explain the reasons that Jeff Bernard is currently in the middle of a number of projects at the airport, including finishing up the T-Hanger project. He's been a key person for the terminal building project. There's been the AWAS tree removal project has taken years to even get to this point, and Jeff was extremely important in the relationships.
I think Commissioner Thomas's concern wasn't about those things. It's literally the question of whether these kinds of findings are legally sufficient for what we're doing.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Sorry.
I don't, Tommy, do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are, and I mean, ultimately it's a policy decision for the commission. It's one of the reasons why you have the hearing, in case people want to elicit different facts to add to the findings or to have you modify the findings. But I think it's pretty typical for special procurements to make a case like what's in the findings.
Okay. So I want to discuss and ask me questions.
I appreciate the federal strings, and none of Jeff's time has ever been used to be reimbursed for FAA grants, and so.
Yeah, I'm not questioning, to be clear, it's not the question of who or the business, it's the procedure for what we're doing, just because we have to hold, next time we're gonna do a cleaning company or something, you gotta be consistent, so that's my question.
Do you want to have a policy discussion on, not today, obviously, but do you want to have a policy discussion on that before moving forward with something?
I don't want to stop forward momentum on a revenue stream that needs to happen, and I understand this consultant does exceptional work. I worked personally with him, so again, I don't want to stand in the way, but I just wanted to bring up my concerns for the larger group, just because.
And I think that's what he was asking for the future. Do we need a policy discussion to
Or
clarify?
even for this, if it's not time sensitive, I have no idea on that one, but I mean, the question is.
Well, legal counsel's here and says we're good to go, as long as we're good to go. I mean, I'm not gonna question the staff members. I'm not aware, I'm just.
You bring up a good point. It's a policy decision, so if you wanted to go, we could bring it back out as a policy of procurement rules. I mean, that is our guiding document. Everything that we do for procurement starts and originates first of state statute within our procurement rules. And I want to say it's been about 2 years since they were adopted. But it's great to have these discussions to see if we need to take another run at them.
Maybe homework, I'll review, I would like to review them and then see if we need to have a discussion, because we may not need to, maybe.
Sure.
If I reviewed them first, that probably would have been, I apologize for not reviewing them for this meeting, but.
No, I'll get those two.
Great. I would love that.
Yeah. All 65 pages.
Succession thing.
Do
Do you want to do
you wanna
a,
vote?
So then can we,
Vote on B, B. I
would that
move,
be B and C?
yeah, I move that we adopt items B and C from the consent agenda.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Alright,
thank you.
did you want to discuss, item D?
Aren't you glad I'm here in person?
Jump into it.
Okay, so my only concern with such session plan was that does not address if multiple positions were disrupted at once. So I hate to say this, but if you had a mass exodus, multiple people who were key members who left. I just think that that might be an area we may want to improve upon or add. I don't think we should stop the movement of this being approved, but I just wanted to make that an awareness just because, you know, you never know.
Sure, right.
And
Designated survivor.
correct. Same. And it's very flexible, and there doesn't seem to be any accountability as to like who's gonna check up on it. So just wanted to add those edits in. I think this is a great living document that we might want to adjust as lessons are learned, but that's kind of where if you all quit at once, that would be terrible. And we don't have a plan. So, yeah.
So do you want us to take another, this is not a particularly timely item, it's part of my work.
Why don't?
Okay, so we'll do the mass exodus concern, and what was the other one?
It's very flexible and loosey goosey. There's not a lot of accountability as to reporting requirements and like follow through. So I just kind of putting that out.
Yeah. Okay.
Go.
Go
I was
for
being
it.
smart
Okay, and then the updated master fee schedule. Well, did you need to adopt the?
No, I'm gonna edit it and come back.
Sorry. Yes.
So looking at the fee schedule, I had a couple of questions, specifically to late fees. It seems as though late fees were not increased in any of the, in 2026, 27. I would say, in my opinion, obviously because I'm speaking, a late fee, that's a way to make money, page 52.
52.
And so it'd be nice, if you're gonna increase everything else, you might as increase the late fees because people who are paying on time are getting increased. It just seems that if we can make money in, I would rather a person who pays on time to keep paying on time at the same rate and increase the late fee as opposed to punishing the people that are paying on time rather than the people that are paying the late fee. Does that make sense? Am I?
Well, with some of the stuff, I don't see it as punishment, it's that we're really behind, comparable. For instance, comparable marinas on what we charge for mortgage. So we're kind of playing a little bit of a catch-up game.
Catherine, do you think it would be appropriate to say maybe instead of a dollar amount for the late fee, to do a percentage, and that way it always agrees with the rate?
Yes.
10% late or 1%, 1.5% late fee or whatever.
We're talking specifically about mortgage.
Yeah.
I just noticed the late fees, it doesn't seem like any of the late fees are increased, so it's just like paying the same thing.
What percentage are slip tenants are late?
Well, this year was different. We switched, systems. So we had a lot of people who were late, but the majority of it is we were doing our billing through email and a lot of them without a paper invoice, and some it got lost in their spam.
Yeah.
So we had a lot this year. Typically, I might have like 30, 40 people that are late. They pay within, most of those pay within 10 days.
And people, when we have a huge waiting list, and
Yeah.
if there's not a mechanism to hit them pretty hard, it should be mechanism to begin at.
But we give them, the 10 days and then contacting them. But this year was bad, but a lot of it was partly us.
Well, and I mean, the late fees, the nice thing about that is we're not increasing our rates annually a great deal. but we can't increase our late fees because it's just paying stuff on time. So maybe we should increase the late fees and make them a percentage instead of a set dollar amount.
And in the same vein, all the violations, I think also should be. And granted, it is like, you know, an unauthorized use of administrative bridge, if you're on a bicycle or e-scooter, I mean, that's a huge safety violation, and we're not. So I'm just looking at the marina fees that we're supposed to approve. And I'm seeing
Yeah.
ways that a lot of the people that are paying on time are gonna have to pay more money, and I just happened to be.
Kevin, are there, that's a good question of the violation. Are there some sort of limits?
There are, yeah,
That we are,
most of them we can go up as high as 2,000.
okay, so we can increase that.
People to know.
Absolutely. Like, for instance, I think the 4 citations that were referenced in Amanda's presentation, I think those were $440.
Yeah.
$440.
Do we need to adopt these fees tonight, or could we table them until next meeting and maybe tighten that up a little bit?
Fiscal year.
It is a fiscal year item.
We're on our fiscal year over at the end of the.
I think the late fees,
Fees take effect on
I
January.
think there's consensus that the CPI for the late fees. Does that work for the board?
That works for me.
It does. Can we vote to approve the master fee schedule with
Amendments.
amendments?
Yeah, I do want to say, if you want to go to a percentage, I will have to research that because there are limits on percentages.
Whatever, yeah.
But if you want to increase it with CPI for this year,
That's fine.
and then we can look at that. We can have more discussion about it before next year.
Whatever's easier for you guys. I just figured then set and forget.
Let's just take the late fee there at CPI
Okay.
for this year.
Okay.
And then on the violations, you want to go, what do you want to do on that 440?
Staff's recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, one thing you could do is take a quick look at what other, governments charge.
Yeah.
I think
Best
most of us know because of small claims.
Well,
Right.
that's true. So we can go up to I want to say 749 or 799 because I wanted to stay in small claims.
Yeah.
Anything over that, then you got to get attorneys involved. And it becomes a little bit more expensive. I mean, let's take those and see which page is that on?
55.
55.
Oh, sorry, that's the late, no, that's.
Is there leniency if somebody
Yes.
lost support and says?
Yeah.
Always good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there was like somebody that had a medical emergency, so I treated that one a little bit differently. than Somebody that just said I was frustrated.
Yeah.
We do a case
As an
around the
example.
bridge.
yeah.
18-point turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, that's just not, they're awesome chairs.
That one doesn't count.
That's all I have.
Where there's no.
Okay, so how do we move forward with this, item?
I know.
So I would recommend that the commission approve the rate resolution as amended to include a CPI on late fees plus a reasonable staff generated violation.
Okay, I move that we approve resolution 2025-2627, adopting updated master fee schedule with an amendment to increase late fees by an amount equivalent to the consumer price index increase and then inflation, and also to increase the violations to a reasonable amount, which is more than they are at present.
Second.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All here.
Aye.
You know. It works.
Yeah, well done.
Okay, so we don't get to skip August.
No. Next try.
All right. Okay. Meeting adjourned.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Daryl.